Hi, my name is Bob Taylor, and I'm your host for this segment of Our Ventura TV. I'm here today with my guest, Emily Barony from thomasfirehelp.org. Thank you very much for being with me, Emily.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, thomasfirehelp.org. I can understand how that evolved, but how did you put it together?
Sure. So the morning after the fire broke out, I was evacuated in the middle of the night, and I thought I'd do my piece. And so I bought some water and some granola bars, and I saw on Facebook that you could donate them at River Park. And I said, great, I'm going to help my community. I'm going to donate these at River Park. And I show up, and they turn me away. And I think, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. They already had so many donations that they could not process anymore.
Right, that was a good thing at that particular moment.
It's a good thing, but I just thought, man, this is inefficient, right? Because it's a waste of my time to go and do that. It's a waste of that volunteer's time to have to stand in the parking lot and turn people away. And it's also demoralizing for volunteers. So my day job, we do a lot of nonprofit management and administration, and part of that is working with volunteers. So there's a psychology to keeping volunteers engaged and excited. And I thought, if this is happening to me, it's happening to a whole bunch of other people, and we could probably do this better. And so I called my friend, Chris Collier, and I shared my experience. He owns a company in Ventura, and we got together and we launched thomasfirehelp.org. And the idea is we're connecting help with need on a grassroots level, something like Craigslist for the recovery. And the idea is that it's continually updated so that the information is fresh and we can have a more efficient, effective recovery.
Okay, now you had to jump from 0 to 120 miles an hour because that fire moved quickly and the help was needed immediately.
Yeah.
So how did you guys, with your volunteers and the information that you guys had, the contacts you had, what were you able to do real quickly?
So within 24 hours of the fire, we had a very ugly, scrappy website up that was...
You had a website?
Yes, so we bought the URL and we put up a website, and it was terrible, but it existed.
Right.
And that was the win. And so what we did is we focused on some business techniques that are used in tech companies. And what they focus on is something called the minimum viable product. It's the MVP. You don't wait until something's perfect. You wait until it is the bare bones functionality that you're looking for, and you launch it. And you collect feedback, and then you do something called iterating. You make changes, and you make it better. And so one of the most profound experiences that we went through during our iteration process, we were a couple steps down the line. We thought what I believed was this. We had what I thought was this beautiful system, and it was elegant and it was simple. And so we go to test it, and we go to one of the supply depots, one of those pop-up stores where individuals who lost everything could go in and get some things to get them through the next couple weeks. And I have my iPad and I have the website loaded, and I meet a gentleman and I said, would you please help us? We're trying to test the software that we're developing. And he looks at my iPad and it has two questions. It says, I need help and I have help to give. And he just stared at it and he didn't know what to select, because he shared later, after he broke down crying on our shoulder, that he lost his home the night before in Santa Paula, and the police pounded on his door, and he and his wife ran out literally with the clothes on their back, and their entire home burned to the ground, including their immigration paperwork.
Oh.
Not only did he lose everything,
He lost his life.
He lost his sense of security in our community. And that is what this fire has done to us. We lost our sense of security. We lost our sense of normalcy. Things happened here that haven't happened in a really long time, and it's been truly devastating. And so and it's been really interesting because the site has done a couple different things for our community. Its primary goal is to help those who are fire affected and slide affected. It's also a tool for healing for our community. I didn't lose my home. I didn't lose anybody in the slide, and I'm still devastated, and my heart is still broken for our community. And what has been probably the most incredible experience of my entire life is watching our community stand up for strangers and saying, you matter. We don't know each other, but you matter, and I'm going to help you out.
Okay, now I'm going to back up a little bit. You guys did all of this in a matter of hours, which takes corporations months, even years sometimes to do.
Yeah.
Because if it had taken you, if you'd have done it by normal ways of doing things, and even crammed that 2-year process into 30 days, you wouldn't have needed any help.
Right.
First statement. Number two, did you find a lot of people would say yes to both those questions?
Yes.
Do you need help?
Yes.
And are you here to help?
Yes, and we've got a couple long-term visions for the site. You know, it is Craigslist for the recovery. It's neighbors helping neighbors. It's strangers helping strangers. And my hope is that what happened in our community can serve as a conversation starting point for a long-term integration of our socioeconomic pieces in our community.
And any kind of disaster.
Well, homelessness is an incredible issue in our community.
Yes.
And we had a housing crisis before a whole bunch of homes
and
burned.
now we have a bigger one.
And my hope is that this will bring some awareness to that issue, and we can be a little more proactive, and that the website, although it wouldn't be called thomasfirehelp.org,
Right.
the concept of the site can continue in our community, neighbors helping neighbors,
Right.
strangers helping strangers, because we all have very, very unique talents that would benefit one of our neighbors who's struggling. And one of the coolest things that we recognized when the 101 closed was we can lift the heaviest volunteer request as long as it's specific.
Yes.
And so that really showed up. We call it the Montecito Airlift. So the 101 was closed for almost 2 weeks, and I got a phone call from a dear friend of mine, James Joyce. He works at Senator Hannah Beth Jackson's office, and he said that they were having trouble moving critical personnel on either side of the slide. And I said, all right, like this is kind of the business we've gotten into. We're solving unsolvable
Whether you
problems.
wanted
Yeah,
to or not,
yeah.
this is what it led to.
So I've got nothing to lose. I'll give it a shot. So I made a couple phone calls, and I put a post on Facebook, and
Powerful tool, isn't it?
within 24 hours, we had 10 volunteer airplane pilots.
Wow.
And at the end of the entire thing, we had 64 volunteer pilots.
Wow, that is just great.
It's incredible. And so we flew 117 individuals while the 101 was closed. It was 83 missions, and they were doctors, nurses, hospital personnel, people critical to the recovery, and patients with non-negotiable medical appointments. One of the women that we flew, her name was Joanne, she had chemo 5 days a week. She lived in Carpinteria.
Yeah. Oh,
and
let's
was,
just put that off till the mudslide's over, shall we?
Right. You know, if your doctor prescribes chemo 5 days a week, there's a reason for that.
Yes.
You need to be there.
Yeah.
And so she lived in Carpinteria, and she was supposed to get to Cottage Hospital 5 days a week. She missed her first 3 appointments, and then we flew her every single day after that. And we did the math, and every single day, it took 11 volunteers to get Joanne from her home,
Wow.
10 minutes up the road, to her chemo appointment. Those are 10 strangers who don't know who Joanne is, who say, Joanne, you're important, and
Right.
we care about you, you matter, and we are going to do what we can to get you to this life-saving procedure. And like, that's incredible. That's the community that we live in. These strangers stand up to help one another.
I think one of the hardest things in the world is to work with volunteers in most projects. Because, I mean, you said it right about they got to be focused and know exactly what they're doing. Because you get volunteers together, if they don't have that feeling of self-worth, they don't have that feeling of need, if they kind of wonder what am I doing standing around here, they're not going to be volunteering next time.
Right.
Okay, so I kind of envision this website being everything from eventually to being everything, this lady down the road has cancer, let's put together some meals for her,
Yep.
to we got a tsunami coming in
Yep.
Santa Barbara.
Yep, let's fill some sandbags.
Let's fill some sandbags.
Yeah, and so we were able to make a difference in a number of different areas. Housing, of course, that looks like...
Can I interrupt for a second?
Please.
One thing that I really liked about the housing is the Ventura County Regional Data Share.
Yeah.
They were put up a special thing for Thomas Fire Housing.
They did.
They were allowing garages to be rented, spare rooms to be rented. they didn't make you put in all the necessary requirements to get people into something.
Yep.
Now,
Yep.
Did you see that? Didn't have any firsthand experience with it, but did that help your group or help your?
Yeah. So we actually worked with them on that. So we had set up our website, and Chris and I professionally have relationships with the Board of Realtors, and so we reached out to them and said, we've set this up. Housing is a critical need. Would you be willing to share your housing stock with us? They did. They gave us 300 available units that we entered into our website, and it gave them an idea. And they said, wait a minute.
We're going to do this too.
We're going to do this ourselves. And so for the first time ever, I believe, they've opened up their MLS so that individuals who are fire and slide affected can access the housing directly. And it's that kind of innovative thinking that I hope will come out of what we've all experienced. Not this has to be perfect before we launch it, or we have to, think about this for 6 months. This is over in 6 months. We need to act now, and things aren't going to be perfect, but something that's imperfect is better than nothing at all.
Yeah, that is really true. Okay, we're down to under 3 minutes. What didn't we talk about? I mean, if somebody gets on your website to start with, it's thomasfirehelp.org for now, but of course it's going to change.
Sure.
As you do more work on it and that kind of things, it's not going to be about the Thomas Fire.
Right.
Can they get on that and sign up to follow you for the future stuff, or volunteer for future things coming up? And
yeah, so the site is a series of forms where if you want to offer help, you can fill out the form and say, I'd like to do these things. I'd like to volunteer in these areas. I've got housing available. I can help with animals. I've got services to provide. And so that's a great place to start.
So you can even collaborate with other nonprofits right on your website.
We already are.
And that's great. When nonprofits all get together and takes up their own resources to help other people, then there's nothing better than that, kind of from a grassroots community level.
Yep, absolutely. And then the really exciting thing is we recognize that what we did here with the Thomas Fire locally really worked. It served an unmet need, and it doesn't exist. And so what we're looking at now is using what we built as a proof of concept to get real money to build a real piece of software to launch an international organization that does this.
Well, there should be one of these in every county.
Yes.
Or maybe depending on how big it is, but to share from county to county. But northern Santa Barbara problems, you're not going to get South Ventura volunteers. It's really tough, and those kind of things. But every community needs a place to turn to, a 911 to turn to volunteers.
Yes, and on the grassroots level.
Exactly.
These are not government programs. They're often not the big nonprofit programs. It's neighbors helping neighbors.
Yes.
And at this moment, there's not an efficient way to organize those resources and connect help with need.
Because by the time you get it organized through a big company or even through a nonprofit, that person's already missed 4 meals. If you're talking somebody that is doing cancer that needs meals for the weekend, or a neighbor whose house burnt down or something, because it's just hard to connect, especially if you don't know that person, but you really want to help people on your block.
Exactly.
Okay, is there phone numbers people should call, or the best way to contact you is strictly through the website?
Website, thomasfirehelp.org.
Okay, well, thank you very much for being with me.
Thank you for having me.
And I'll just get on the website and just make sure I do keep up what's going on.
Wonderful, we appreciate that.